Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 93. What's your favourite Zelda and why? With me, George, and as always joined by Bobby, courageous link to my flinch and blink. How's it going?
Going good.
Let's quickly give everyone new and old a quick rundown of the show, Bobby, before we launch into too many more niceties. We've got the news coming up. In there is some Diablo news. Thought that would perk your ears up. Yes, sir, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going into the feature, which is obviously what's your favourite Zelda and why. And we asked you, loyal listeners, to let us know your thoughts on the subject. And as always, we incorporated those into the very fabric of the show. Then, without any surprise to anyone that regularly listens to the show, Stingray, the real deal, the man who shows us the new releases for each and every week, storms up Fifth and Main here in New York. And once he's finished, we've picked a VHS, I ask Bobby what he's hoping to play for that gaming week. But listen to me. The show cannot and will not begin until Odders grip tight down on your foam master sword and your plastic shield. Swing courageously forward as I ask Bobby, what you been playing?
Oh, a couple things, actually. So, still playing Slamper 3 with my boy Marlon.
Yes.
And it's probably going to be the hardest game I've ever played. Because on authentic difficulty, there's bullet, wind, you have to get the height right because the wind can blow your bullet out the way, and they see you. These Nazis have unbelievable vision. So even if you think you're safe, you're not. And it's playing two players. So at any time you die, you have to restart the whole level.
Wow.
So we got to the end of some level 3 times. And 3 times we died in the same exact spot. Like we didn't learn. So it's gonna be tough, but we're having a good time doing it. I mean, as you shoot more and more and learn, you can really get like, okay, the wind's blowing to the left, so let me move my gun more off higher so it can drop. We're getting kind of good out of it.
I don't know enough about the game because it's never really been of interest to me. It's obviously It's almost like Confidential Mission on the Dreamcast or Silent Scope, I think is actually the game I'm thinking of. And I know a lot of people are, I love being a sniper. When I join the army, I'm going to be a sniper. Like, yeah, okay, mate. Yeah, whatever. But on the sight that you have on your rifle, there's obviously in there is the crosshairs, which is called the reticule.
Yeah.
And that has different lines on the up line, on the vertical line, and lines on the horizontal line.
Yeah.
Are you using those to calculate for drop-off and distance and wind calculation? Yeah.
Yeah.
I presume, much like in real life, though, it doesn't spell it out for you on the reticule on the scope.
No.
Perfect.
So
how are you able to gauge wind? Do you have to look for like trees and flags in the level?
There's a wind gauge on top of it. So when you play on easy or whatever, all you get is the reticle. There's no wind. You shoot anybody, you're dead. But on authentic, there's like a wind gauge on top of your reticle.
Yeah.
And you have to be like, okay, well, the wind's blowing like way to the left. So you have to really, aim not even at the guy sometimes. So sometimes what we do is just for a shot to gauge, I'll watch with binoculars and my boy Juan will shoot.
Perfect.
Like, bro, you got to go like, way higher because your bullet dropped like not even near him. And then sometimes you can like make noise with a generator or do something. There'll be a noise that can counterbalance your shot. So they have no idea you even shot somebody, and it's like, I don't know, I kind of like it. It's much better than just a typical like army game where you can run in there and shoot a bunch of Nazis.
I love the fact that there's a spotter when you play it 2-player, that there's a spotter who can watch the fall of shot. That's actually quite cool.
Because I think like in reality though, you would almost need one. I mean, I don't know about modern guns, but like back then, I'm sure you'd have all the technology where you can judge everything yourself. Just take a shot.
I think in World War II, there were combinations of sniper teams. Sometimes there was one guy on his own that obviously had enough experience to be able to work out fall of shot distance and all that sort of stuff in his head. Don't forget as well, you're going to be I would advise, I don't know this game inside or out. I've never really been that interested in it, but I'd be taking comprehensive notes. Like wind direction in this way at this strength means that we need to be on left
Oh
or right
yeah.
reticule 2, 3, or 4. If he's this distance away, first reticule up is 1,000 yards, second reticule up is 2,000 yards. And then you should just be able to have these comprehensive notes so you can just dial this in and just make every shot like boom, boom,
Yep.
boom, picking them off.
So that's exactly what we're doing now. Like as we get, all on the level, we get better and better. But we're on the 4th level. There's 8 levels. So we haven't got past the 4th level yet because we can't make it. But we're having a ball doing it. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
Wonderful.
My favorite part is when I'm trying to be sneaky and my boy uses the binoculars. Now, he's ducking. But when you use binoculars, you go upright.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, I keep getting caught. I'm like, because you're using the binoculars, you idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You're not ducking no more. That's why they see you all the time. And we try to stay within a couple 100 yards of each other. Because if you get shot, I have 1 minute to get you and revive you. If I don't get you, game over, bro.
Wow.
Tough. But it's fun. And then I'm playing some Cyberpunk. I'm gonna do finally one ending of the game. I should have at least one ending this weekend, hopefully. And then I bought as a surprise gift for Eva, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Listen, this game is awesome, dude.
Well, we knew it would be, didn't we?
Yeah, we do. But we're arguing, like typical. Why are you running over here? Why did you jump over there? What made you think you can make that jump? But whatever. We're almost done. We're at the last level.
Oh, really? What's the crack with all this cat shrine nonsense then?
I don't know. That's in Bowser's Fury. We haven't played that yet.
Oh, right. Okay. So you're going to get to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she's like me, though. She wants to get all the stars, all the stands. Which is fine with me. I'm right behind you. Don't worry about it.
Wonderful.
What about you?
Oh, me. Made some promises. I needed to start clearing the decks down. So I've gone, PS3 got fired up, obviously. And I've cleared down Yakuza 5. Well, let's rewind. I've cleared down Remember Me. Finally got that done. Well, I want to like that game, but the combat in it is so obtuse and it feels very delayed. Now, I think the timing's built in to give you a chance to string combos together, but it makes the controls feel not connected to what you're doing kind of thing. And they feel weighty, but I think they feel weighty because they're sluggish, and this girl's should be capable of gymnastics. She's flipping around doing all this stuff. So in the end, I just bum rushed it. I got so sort of disappointed with it and frustrated towards the end. There was this guy called Johnny Greenteeth at the end, and he's kind of I know, what a name. And he surrounds himself by these sort of zombie type creatures. If you kill them, more come. So you've kind of just got to manage them without killing them to keep your health. Because if you do a certain combo, you get health. So you've got to try and keep your health up. But some of his moves are so cheap. He appears behind you and then slashes. And then they all slash at you. And once they kind of get round you in a group, your health diminishes really quickly. So that was frustrating. In the end, the final boss was literally a cakewalk. There was nothing too difficult in there. The story's interesting. If you can get it cheap, I advise you to pick it up. I know that Remember Me nowadays, you watch a Hidden Gems video on PS3 on YouTube and it's on there. So no doubt that's going to skyrocket the price.
You know what I can't stand?
What's that?
Those videos.
Hidden Gems.
All they do is raise the price of everything.
That's right. Well,
I mean, it's why? Why is that game $55?
Well, that game should be $3 max. If I would review it back in the day, it would get a good score. It would get a 7. I think with the onset of time and different things that have changed, I think it would still get a good score. I'd give it a 6. But by the end of it, I was kind of sick of it. I just wanted it done. But I didn't want to leave another stone unturned. So that was done, parked it back on the shelf. I might explore it at another point in time, but there's no different endings. It kind of is what it is. The other game that I finished, Yakuza 5, as I mentioned at the top of the show, loved that. It took me a little bit of time to get back up to speed with the story again because they're so intertwining, but the characters again are wonderful. in my concurrent game after game after game playthrough. I guess now I need to load up 6 again and play through that, which I'll look forward to doing. But I'm just going to give it a little bit of time. And the other game, I've been feeling a bit weirded out with games recently. So I got those 2 done, which was no mean feat, I have to admit. Remember Me was last weekend, and then I finished Yakuza 5 during the week. The other game... Oh, Bobby, I am such a strange human being. I've collected an eclectic mix of games. Now, I had this back in the day when I used to go traveling. It's called G1 Jockey for the PlayStation 2. It's a horse racing game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that good. And I've already ordered the PlayStation 3 version because it's got that, for me, it's got that one more go about it. You don't really control the speed of a horse. You kind of like, when the gates open, you kind of hit a button and that kind of determines the getaway that you get. And the horse, obviously, much like in real life, follows the pack. It kind of runs and you can sort of intimate its direction left and right, speed it up or slow it down. And what you're doing is it's quite difficult because when you first start racing, you don't get the best rides. So you're getting like poor horses, not that well conditioned. And the whole thing has got this, it's like Gran Turismo with horses, okay? I don't want to oversell the concept, but it's actually quite highbrow. And the more respect you get as a jockey, the better rides you get. Like every now and then you stumble across someone who's willing to give you a go, and that's when you can get a win early in your career and other bits and bobs. And you're trying to basically conserve the horse's energy for that last 300 yards, and that's when you let go, and then you kind of, it's triangle. There's a video I put up on the Discord of the PlayStation Move and the Kinect versions of the motion controls. This guy, this really awkward looking guy, is doing a demonstration of how to use it. And the Kinect edges it for me because obviously the guy's got no peripherals or anything, and he's just sort of like riding this invisible horse in his lounge, and he wins, and he's got this fake emotion at about 1 minute 20. He like pumps the air and he's like points at someone off camera as if to say, I'm the real deal. It's so cheesy, it's hilarious. But that version on the PlayStation 3 is called G1 Jockey and Gallop Racer because Koei Tecmo ended up buying another studio in Japan that did a game from the Saturn and other consoles called Gallop Racer, which involves like not only the jockeying side of it, which is G1 Jockey, but the running and managing of a stable. And in that you get to breed horses. So it's the ultimate Gran Turismo for horse racing, that one is. And the graphics are obviously quite a lot better than the PS2 version. But yeah, I've been like last night I was playing it till gone one because I wonder if someone with X-ray vision like Superman, he's walking down my street and he's like, or our street here, and he looks in these apartments and he's like, okay, yeah, they're a young couple, they're enjoying each other's company. Looks in another one, there's a guy watching sports. Looks in another one, he's like, there's a guy there playing a PlayStation 2. But not only that, he's playing a horse racing game, and it's 1 a.m. Is this guy normal?
I would love that power, dude.
Or not? Or maybe like everyone in the apartments are all playing PS2 horse racing games, and he's like, "Am I the odd one out? What is it with these guys?" But yeah, so as always, an eclectic mix. I think this weekend I'm going to try and find something a bit more meaty to get into. Obviously, I've got Persona 5 and Mass Effect Andromeda. Mass Effect Andromeda, I don't think it's a bad game, but it's not got the hook. And with that said, I don't know why it should be news to people that I'm playing a very random, esoteric piece of software. It is. But it's time for some real news, Bobby. We've scoured the very darkest regions of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up. Now, this should appeal to you, Bobby. Maybe you should go with this first piece of news.
We got bad to the bone. While you need to wait a little longer for Diablo 2 Resurrected and Diablo 4, you can get stuck into some old school classics today as part of the Blizzard Arcade Collection. Available on the PlayStation Store right now. It's a PS4 game, but it's playable on PS5 through backwards compatibility. Of course, the compilation bundle, The Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing, and Black Zone, which are all great.
I will just state as well, that's I meant to type in there that it was on Xbox, obviously, as well.
Oh.
So apologies.
Okay, so it's on Xbox too.
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to the trio of titles preserved in both original and definitive form, you'll also find an array of bonus materials, including art, assets, interviews, and more. The collection costs 19 on its own, but if you also play Diablo 3 and Overwatch, you may be tempted to grab the Blizzard 30-year celebration collection for $29.99, which includes the Blizzard Arcade collection with a bounty of in-game rewards, including a pet transmog set and wings for Diablo 3, as well as a legendary Reinhardt skin and a commemorative spray and icon, and classic and golden loot boxes for Overwatch.
That'll make Tom happy. There's a bit in there for everyone. Probably should have put that as the second piece of news.
Well, Lost Vikings is dope if you have two players. It's pretty fun.
Mate, rock and roll racing.
I played that all day with my sister. She was such, I can't say on the air, but she saved every bullet and missile for the last lap. It was just to the point of cheating.
I got rock and roll racing on a holiday to the Isle of Wight where I didn't have my Super Nintendo with me. And I read that box over and over again. I read the instructions over and over again. And we got it early. We went away for a week, I think it was. And I got it like on the Monday. So
How cool was the music?
Oh, mate, I didn't really, at the time I was a young lad, so I wasn't au fait with all the tunes. But obviously by the time I'd finished playing it, I knew them all. And I thought it was on the SNES. I've got it on the Mega Drive now.
I think it's better on Nintendo.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. The core game is there or thereabouts on Mega Drive, but the chip tunes of the Mega Drive of these recreations, although we know the Mega Drive's got its own style with the synth that it's got in it, it pales into insignificance compared to the
Even
SNES.
I feel like it controls better for some reason.
It seems to be able to rotate and scroll. Obviously, one of the SNES's, secret moves or special moves is the ability to rotate and scroll sprites. And yeah, it just feels like a very smooth experience on the SNES. Yeah, at heart.
And then I know a lot of people didn't play Blackthorn, but that was only also on Super Nintendo.
Did it not get a Mega CD release though?
That I don't know about. I know it wasn't on the Genesis though, for sure, because I've only played it on this. If you like Flashback or like,
I think it got
Prince of Persia type. That's not bad at all. Really. It's pretty cool.
No, I think it's a good looking game. I actually think the SNES is the best version. Something tells me, write in, tell me that I'm wrong. We'll give you the details at the end of the news, but I'm sure that Blackthorn got a Mega CD or a 32X release,
Maybe.
one or the other.
I don't know.
And they redrew the sprites to be more photorealistic, and it didn't
really.
But it didn't.
Oh, it lost its
good.
Edge.
It lost its edge. In those days, if you slapped like a photo in the background, it kind of looked like you were, jumping around in front of an Encarta section of a, online encyclopedia. It looked completely ropey. The picture quality wasn't great. Whereas the sprite work for Blackthorn, I remember being good. Bit more news. Diablo means devil. Maybe you should have had this bit because your Mexican accent that you do. It was, and we kind of sport it a little bit because I badly arranged the news this week, but it was rumoured weeks before the actual announcement, and now it's been confirmed. Vicarious Visions, the Activision studio that crafted both Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, is developing Diablo 2 Resurrected. News dropped last month that Vicarious Visions had been merged into Blizzard, with the press release stating that the team would be fully dedicated to existing Blizzard games and initiatives. And so here we are, with the developer working on the newly 1995 called They Want My Teeth Back. The developer working on the newly revealed Diablo 2 Revival, while Resurrected isn't ground-up remake like Insane Trilogy and Pro Skater. It still sounds much more than a simple remaster. For a start, the visuals have been overhauled dramatically. Diablo 2's world's never looked so detailed, with remade character models and assets, and an all-new lighting system breathing a lot of life into the 20-year-old action RPG. It should be noted that the gameplay hasn't been touched. This is still Diablo 2, but it will run at 60 frames per second and is now fully playable with a controller, obviously. You can hear all about the development of Diablo 2 Resurrected in the video that's out there online. It's immediately clear that Vicarious Visions has tackled this project with all the respect that it deserves. In short, it's easy to feel as though Diablo 2 Resurrected is in very capable hands, especially given Vicarious Visions' stellar output in recent years. The remaster is due out later this year, but we do not, as of yet, have a release window to go on. But
now here's my only issue.
What's that, my friend?
I hope they don't make it colorful.
I
Like
don't.
Diablo 3's armor compared to the other Diablo was kind of like super fantasy
Hmm,
and like like lighthearted enemies. Like, it should be dark and you know
gritty.
yeah creepy.
I tell you, I've had a little dabble with Diablo 3, nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
But the game I poured a lot of time into on the PlayStation 1, we've talked about me having the PlayStation 1 with the screen. I had Diablo for
Mm-hmm.
that.
Too
And
awesome.
I wish I still had it, but it was like the overworld was like really like dark, really. And then you
And
got into the underworld and it was like, it's even worse, it's proper.
even the armor, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, it was fantasy, but it wasn't like 2 foot shoulder pads with spikes
No.
on them. Like that's what I like. That's why I like the Forsaken Forgotten Realms. Uh, was it Baldur's Gate or something like that?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, I like because it wasn't so fantasy looking. Kind of,
Uh,
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I love those type of games anyway.
to try and make it more generic appeal, they probably felt like they needed unicorn coloured horns on everything. We're in a world where DLC skins are 10 a penny, aren't we? And
Hmm.
I guess to make Diablo 3 stand out, they had to try something a little bit different. But Diablo 1,
Was awesome, dude.
I remember someone playing it on a laptop, again, when I used to be away all the time. And the first time I saw it, I was like, is that Diablo? Yeah. And they were collecting things and hoarding all this stuff and changing out their armor and then changing it back again, then swapping out a helmet and doing something else, and you're always trying to get the right loadout, and you're changing it on the hoof all of the
Hmm.
time. When you get adept at it, you're like, oh, I've just picked up this. I'll put that chest plate on. I'll ditch that chest plate, or I'll sell that, and it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. And then it must have been an old port. I think they were playing like an expansion pack for Diablo 1, and I managed to get Diablo for PS1. I bet that's quite a rare game now, And
Yeah,
I
it's
think it
always
actually had PlayStation 1 mouse support as well, from memory. So you could get a PlayStation mouse back in the
the
day.
PlayStation 1 had a mouse.
It had a mouse. Yeah.
I need to quit the show.
Hang
What
on a
do I
minute.
know? What do I know?
Sorry, Matt. I've just got to take this call.
I,
Yeah, Albuche. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, he didn't know the PlayStation 1 had a mouse. Like, I know. Yeah, I know. I just didn't think he'd be. He's okay. I'll see. Okay, if you can arrange Dominic Diamond, look, I'll take Dexter Fletcher. Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
I mean, I knew it had like the control with the 4 players. Got you. Didn't know it had a mouse.
Have you ever heard of Dexter Fletcher?
No.
Have you seen Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels?
Yes, I have.
He's in that. Have you seen Band of Brothers?
No.
He's in that too. Sure he
Who's
is.
Dexter Fletcher? The redheaded guy?
No.
Mm.
He normally plays an American because I think he's got American, but he did one series and then he got kicked off of a computer game show over here in the UK. And El Buccio seems to think he might be able to come on as a co-host. Last bit.
Did the PS2 have a mouse?
The PS2 could support mouse through the USB slots on the front, so mouse and keyboard if you wanted it to, if the game allowed it.
So that's what those were, huh? All right.
El Buccio? Yes, George. Yeah, advance everything. Yes. This time next week. Yeah, I want Dexter. Yeah. No if buts, no maybes.
It's been an interesting 2021, I'll tell you that.
Look, I'll ring him back in shortly. I can't live without you. You know this. I couldn't share a bathroom with Dexter Fletcher. I'd rather cut my own arm off. And that to a gamer is a pretty final move. Because it would take me a long time to get back up to my average set of skills using my foot. So, what's this last bit of news?
I want to yell this, but I can't.
Do it. Just come back from the mic.
No, I can't because it's early.
Okay.
You yell it, I'll read it.
4.
Perhaps one of the most exciting reveals during Nintendo's Direct was Mario Golf Super Rush. Although Nintendo didn't go into all that much detail, it seems it might have revealed more information than intended to on the game page. As spotted by many fans, it seems that King Babam could be a playable character in the speed golf description. It was mentioned how King Babam can pelt the course with bombs. Nintendo now has updated the page. Here's the original line courtesy of Twitter user Sherlock Prower. Tee off at the same time with up to 3 players and race through the course to get your ball in first. Like real life. Outpace and interrupt your opponent dashes with super shots. Luigi, for example, can freeze the green, and King Babam can pelt the course with bombs. And the quote, King Babam originally appeared in the 1996 game, Super Mario 64. Since then, he's shown up in the series like Mario Party, and more recently appeared as a playable racer in the mobile game Mario Kart Tour.
Do you know what that's great news about Mario Golf Super Rush, okay? But my takeaway is that guy who's a massive bomb with a fuse in his head, okay, that his actual last name is Om, and his first name is Bob.
I think so, yeah. I would agree.
But that means that his children, unless they're called Bob Om Jr., the first, second, and third, are going to be like Prince Dave Om. It's not got the same ring to it, has it?
No. So he might just do what George Foreman did and name all his kids George.
Wow. I think that's what I should do.
It's a great name. It's a very knightly name. I think of George, I think of something who's royal.
Wow. That's...
Yeah. I mean, you're my first George I ever knew.
I'm your first George?
I never called anybody in my whole life, hey, George.
I'm honored and basked in your assumed glory of myself.
Adams, Tommy's, Alex's, Scott's, Danny's, my whole life.
George, a penny.
Never won.
Wow. Well, your regular Dragon Slayer here thinks that's probably the end of the news. Got to ask myself, did we miss anything? And with a Nintendo Direct this week and more news than I can shake a stick at, you got to imagine we've missed quite a bit. Interest level in whether we've missed that news? Fair to middling. Do you have an opinion or take on the news that we missed? If so, Bobby, how would the collective masses get in touch with me and say, George, how can you talk about all this when you haven't talked about all that? How can you say this and how can you say that? And actually, George, in Nintendo canon, there's King Babom Jr., King Babom Jr. III, and Prince Tallahassee on the 5th. Okay? All right, what do you know? Seemingly nothing. That's why we do a podcast. How would they get in touch with me and let me know that Tallahassee III is a thing?
You can contact us on our Twitter or Instagram page at Unofficial Controller Podcast. Just Unofficial Controller Podcast. No.com. You can email us at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com, or you can hit the link in either of those to the link tree and come join the Discord, which is free.
Unbelievable. If you're not in the Discord, you weren't woken up Friday morning by the video of a man riding an invisible horse in the Koei Tecmo video. And I ask you at this point, if you haven't seen that video via the Discord, are you even alive?
Mm-hmm.
Do you even draw breath? Question? Answer? No. So if you want to continue the conversation when the show's not on air, I mean, you listen to it every week at this point, and there's a whole conversation that carries on off air that you're not privy to.
Mm-hmm.
What's it feel like to miss out? It feels like you. But you know what? We're not going to judge. We're not even going to question. You just slip into the Discord. We'll welcome you in. We're not here to judge, okay? But if you've got FOMO, it's going to be raging right now. So make amends for your crimes. Come visit us in the Discord. As Bobby says, it's free. And what's the worst that could happen? You might make a friend. And as gamers, we're lonely isolationists. And sometimes that little bit of human contact stops us from descending into full Neanderthal, walking around in our flat, wearing nothing but some pants, a really long beard, and questioning whether eating your feces is a good idea.
Agreed.
The Discord stops me from doing that, I'll tell you. This week, with the Nintendo news, Skyward Sword remake, and all that sort of drama and drivel, Bobby, I posed a question to our community on Instagram, Twitter, and obviously in the Discord. I posed the question, what's your favourite Zelda and why? Now, this elicited a big response from the community. So again, as always, if your comment did not make the show, don't feel aggrieved. We read them all. We communicated. I like to think that we communicate with everyone that puts something of note on the Discord or no, on the Instagram. And, just try again next time. So, Bobby, as I say, with the news this week that a remaster of Skyward Sword will be making its way to the Switch and the series celebrating its 35th anniversary, we thought we'd ask, what's your favourite Zelda game and why? The Legend of Zelda was principally inspired by Shigeru Miyamoto's explorations as a young boy in the hillsides, forests and caves surrounding his childhood home in Sonobe, Japan, where he ventured into forests with secluded lakes, caves and rural villages. According to Miyamoto, one of his most memorable experiences was the discovery of a cave entrance in the middle of the woods. After some hesitation, he apprehensively entered the cave and explored its depths with the aid of a lantern. Miyamoto has referred to the creation of Zelda games as an attempt to bring to life a miniature garden for players to play in with each game series. With the first game appearing all the way back in 1986 on the Famicom Disk System and appearing on pretty much every Nintendo system since, the plucky lead of the Zelda series, Link, even got a run out in the much maligned Philips CDI. This gaming series is one of Nintendo's finest, with a rich lore and devoted fans across the world. Sounds very much like this show. And as of December 2020, the Legend of Zelda franchise has sold over 125.95 million copies worldwide. As always, we ask you guys your thoughts on the topic. Let's have a look in this chest and a read. Bobby, with the chest opened and an avalanche of news pouring down in front of us, I have to ask you this question. What's your favourite Zelda and why?
I've only played 4.
That's fine.
Even though it's my favorite of all time. I've never played the GameCube games, the N64 games, or the Wii games. I've only played the original.
Yeah.
I played the 5. I played the Game Boy one.
Yeah.
I played the original, Zelda 2, and then A Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild. Now, Breath of the Wild, yes, it's amazing. I love it. I think it's my favorite Nintendo game on the Switch. But I'm gonna have to go with A Link to the Past.
Classy.
Because my father used to play it, and I didn't really understand what he was doing. But he made little notes, like he always did. Little maps and notes, and I don't know how he found half the stuff. Like, who would know how to push that bush? Yeah, did you call the hotline? Probably he did. Or he just figured it out himself. I don't know. But just the exploration part of Zelda always, got me really interested in the franchise. Because you have to go over here to go over there to get that item to go back over there. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that stuff. So, he never obviously he didn't pass over for A Link to the Past. He never played it, but I was scared to play it because I don't know, memories, whatever. So I started playing that, thinking, oh man, what would he do in this situation? So that would be my favorite. The story was great. I thought the graphics were just phenomenal. Everything about the game was just so well done.
Mm.
I wouldn't even want that remastered. Don't even touch it. Leave it alone.
Mm.
It's on the mini, and you can buy it. And you can buy it for it's not that expensive.
It's one of those games that was everywhere. I think box complete mint with map and all that, people have pushed the price up and up and up.
Yeah.
And up. As with any Nintendo system, some of these games are starting to prove to be more than disposable purchase.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, obviously the era behind the era that we've got, PS3 and Xbox 360 games are $1 each.
Yeah.
You would be smoking crack to think that in 20 years' time, those games are still going to be $1 each. Some might be. Yeah. But the chance of that happening is not going to happen. By that point in time, a SNES game is going to be, even a basic game that everybody had is going to be $80, $90. You know it. And it's, I mean, look at the NES. Sometimes some of the prices required for that, just cart only. And I would only collect, back in the day, I'd have had all the boxes mint and everything like that. But I don't have enough nostalgia nor want to get a mint cardboard box. So at the moment, I'm relatively happy just collecting loose carts for Nintendo consoles.
Yeah.
I've got some box N64 stuff that I had from back in the day. Like I kept the boxes, bizarrely, because I used to carry it all around in a travel bag. I had a load of the boxes stored, and then I had a moment of weakness and binned them all. After I'd got rid of the N64, I still had all the empty boxes, and I binned them all. And I was like, oh, what an idiot. Because now I've got loose carts that would slot into there, and I'd have a
but you know what?
box.
What's kind of weird about that? Like, some of these games are almost 4 years old. Who our age would have thought to keep that box? And how do they sell them so mint? Where'd you put that, bro?
I had a cupboard. So I was at my parents' house, but off and away. So I had an N64 carry bag, which I still got, and that's what the N64 is packed in. I think I've got a spare one in a box, and I've got this other one that I've acquired in this carry bag with all the loose carts in there. And I had this drawer in my bedroom that was just empty, and it was, I don't know, maybe a foot high and maybe 1.5 foot deep, and I had it full of these N64 card boxes. The only time I opened the drawer was to put another box in and close it. So I think when I moved out, I had some pressure from my mum. You need to come and clean some stuff out in your bedroom. And at the time, I didn't have an N64. So I opened this box and was like, where am I going to get carts? Where am I going to get carts from for all this? I ain't got the time. And I think I kept like a couple, like Zelda, maybe Majora's Mask, and I think maybe some couple of N64 wrestling game boxes. And the rest I just oofed, oof, in the bin. Boom, didn't even think about it, right? What are they worth anyway? Nothing. Now, as I get older and I look back at that moment and I'm like, what an idiot, because I'm sure Donkey Kong 64 went in. I'm sure, and the generation before, the SNES, I had everything boxed. And when I traded it in, Uni Rallies, Sword of Mana, we've been through this time memorial. It all got presented. They must have been like, this dude's just giving us like proper retail stock we can put on the front. I must have got £1 a game, and they must have been charging 15.
Hell yeah.
Crazy. But my thoughts on Zelda, I had Link to the Past on the SNES. It was a bit bigger game than I could get my head around at the time as a youngster. No access to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I would get a Nintendo magazine every once in a while. You'd look in there for a guide or something, and there'd be barely anything. Someone might message in that they were stuck in this section, and that would, like, if you were that far in the game, it would be useful. If you weren't, you maybe got a bit stuck, and I felt completely overwhelmed by it. I had Link's Awakening on the Game Boy, which I kind of enjoyed. I don't think I finished that either. The first one I finished was Ocarina of Time. Got it, saw it through from beginning to end. I even showcased it to Tom, co-host of this show, former co-host of this show, now resident of Rikers Island Prison Penitentiary. And he had to have it. I remember I sold him on the concept. I was like, you've got to get this game. You've got to get this game. If you get an N64 and you ain't got this game, you're nothing. You're dead. And he got it. So I think we might even have a message from him about. He's probably going to be really controversial, like, actually, my favourite Zelda is this. Like, oh, whatever, Tom. I'll read it out anyway. But that game to me, I've got memories all the way back to the Game Boy one and the SNES one, but the one that I have most, and I was like, I don't know, maybe 18, 19 at the time it came out, and it was one I remember I got it when it launched. I think I reserved a copy, went down, bought it, and I played it sort of over November, December, and I think I had it done by the end of January. So I played it over a 3-month period. And the first half of the game, all with a broken N64 pad. So the analog stick made him walk up to a door, then immediately turn left. So he had to sort of walk up to the door and hammer A quickly before he turned to try and get, and it made the game so much more difficult. And I had like this really wonky third-party unofficial controller. I'm doing the air quotes in the air. And it was even worse than the broken N64 controller that was making him swivel to the left every time. So to finish the game, I bought, or I think the girlfriend, whatever at the time, bought me a new controller, and I managed to see the game out. And it's got some memories for me, that game. Quite cool. I'll never forget sort of if you haven't played it, I'd try and advise you to get a copy of it somehow, because from the original little village that you start into the Deku Tree and then out into the field. Obviously, Hyrule Field to you now would be like, yeah, it's very blocky and very empty, George. But at the time, seeing a space that large realized with freedom of movement in a game, it was like, whoa, and if something that size had been tried on PlayStation at the time, there would have been fog about 2 meters in front of your character that you couldn't see and they couldn't draw in, and that would be the end. That would be all she wrote. Whereas the N64 was like, boom, this is the reason why I'm playing with 64 bits, baby. Look at this. So yeah, it's some good memories wrapped up in there. First out the Hyrulean chest this week. It's a man who probably needs no introduction to the regular listeners, and obviously there's regular contributors here, and there's also there's a wave of new listeners that the name Zelda has brought out like mice round cheese at midnight, Bobby. But first of all, Boba Loba. Boba Loba doesn't do gaming comments. Boba Loba does the finest gaming comments a podcast can buy. He says this: I've never played Zelda. Emoji with no mouth. Emoji.
It is what it is. I mean, I've played lots of games.
Quite a few people messaged in and said they'd never played Zelda, but I find this confession by him to be most perplexing. He had a SNES, but he never had this. He had an N64, but he never had Ocarina of Time.
Oh, it's not his type of game from what he plays.
What does he play? What is Boba Loba's kind of game?
Oh, he loves Call of Duty.
What was his jam before Warzone, before Call of Duty crawled into his life, do you think?
He was playing that racing game.
What racing game?
I don't know. Some racing game he was playing. He was putting up clips on it. You don't follow Boba Loba close up?
I do, but it's all it all blurs into one. Like I remember recently in playing Red Dead Revolver. I remember him recently playing Jedi Fallen Order. I see lots of shots of him no-scoping guys out of helicopters in Warzone.
He's playing Hot Shot Racer.
Hot Shot Racing. Yep. I want to know what Bobolo was playing in the N64 era.
Well, he's playing the medium for a little bit. Don't know how far he got. Playing a little bit of Division.
Yes. You see, I see Boba Loba. I think we should now give him a military designation. Brigadier General Boba Loba. Brigadier General Boba Loba. If this isn't a realistic, militaristic shooter, you can count me out.
I would love to see Boba Loba play Sniper 3.
Yes.
Since he's a sniper in Call of Duty.
Yes.
I would love to see just like a 10-minute clip.
It's his inner calling, isn't it? On extreme authentic difficulty, just picking these guys off, like, just knocking them down like a farmer just sways through corn. This is Boba Loba. He'd finish that backwards with his eyes closed. He would be.
If I believe he has, I don't know if he has a PS4, but I'm sure, we can get him one. I will buy him a Sniper 3 copy, and then he can help us lead and destroy these Nazis with his sniping ability.
Wow. That should be made into a realistic military documentary for YouTube.
That's what I'm going to make one like me and my boy from New York, we enlisted in the army, we're shooting Nazis, we're pinned, we radio in, and then they send out Boba Loba with the finest military gear, something that like we could never afford. Comes out with like a beret.
Oh, he needs a beret.
And then he meets us, we radio him in, he just runs like beautiful run, a beautiful man running. Okay?
Yeah.
He slides into the dirt next to us, and as he's sliding, he pulls out his gun, okay? And then he drops it down, and he goes, 125 kilometers, wind, 5. North, 0.2 clicks. Bang. And we're like, dude, we were trying to shoot him for months. And we're pinned down. And he's like, got you.
I have a vision of him now with a beret on,
Mhm.
stripped. His upper torso is naked, allowing his muscles to ripple. He's greased up, but only just to accentuate his manly curves. And as he
We gotta be
runs,
careful. I don't think he'd be too greased up because there's an African sun.
I'm thinking it doesn't matter to him. He's using bronzing oil. As he runs and slides, he kicked up some more dust to further accentuate the deep ravines of muscle and toned sinew across his body. And as you say, beret on, pulls a sight up to his eye. He calls it. He just says, as you say, 1,250 yards, wind left, northeast, 2 clicks, boom, drops, next one, drops, next one, drops. And he just wades through these guys. For a Zelda special, this has gone awfully deep on military. But maybe, Boba, I'm happy you've talked about militaristic shooters now. Toxis right now is sliding down his washboard-like stomach.
And then I can even imagine him in the later levels, not even shooting, just kneeling next to us and holding both our shoulders, left, up, bam, 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 bam. And every time he shoots them, he gets like a little shiver, like a yes, kill them all.
This has got some very strange sexual undertones running through it, and I'm both excited but also a little bit nervous by my...
Listen, when you shoot a Nazi 200 meters away, dude, it's exhilarating. Okay? Let's go. Next comment. We got a new listener. Digital Monkery.
Oh, by the way, if you're listening, you're a regular listener and you're not on the Discord and you wonder why we clap Digital Monkery in as a new listener every week, get on the Discord and you'll find out. What's he got to say for himself?
I own many more Zelda games than I ever played.
Oh.
The first I experienced was Ocarina of Time, which I completed with the help of a guide.
Oh,
not mad at you. Not mad at him.
Controversial.
I wanted Majora's Mask after that, but couldn't afford it at the time. I bought it last year, but haven't started it yet. I've avoided Wind Waker for many years. I didn't like the art style. Tried it last year and found it to be enjoyable, but haven't been on it since getting annoyed at the water dungeon. I hate water stages in games. I'm with you there too. I tried Twilight Princess, but couldn't get into it. Never tried Skyward Sword. Might do the HD version. Nowadays, I get more enjoyment from Zelda from watching my sons play Link's Awakening, Breath of the Wild, another I can't get into. Whoa. Than I do from playing the game myself. Overall, it's a franchise I've tried many times to get into and enjoy, but nothing has ever come close with my first try with Ocarina. Everything since then has been a disappointment to me.
That I think because you haven't played Ocarina. Now, although Zelda is a free-form experience, there's something that he's brought up. Thank you for your comment, Digital Monkery. It's something he's brought up there. Although Zelda is what feels like an open-world experience, it's actually not as open world as you think. And it gently leads you from point A to point B in subtle ways. You can't move to point B unless you've done mission X, got feature B. That will then let you move to this next area of the map, or at least, although you could move to area of the map, you couldn't really do anything in that area of the map. Whereas Breath of the Wild is the most free-form Zelda experience since the first one. Right? You can go anywhere, you can do anything, you can probably pretty much do it in any order, but the gear's probably the thing that's going to hold you back in Breath of the Wild more than anything else. Like if you go somewhere and you haven't got the right gear, you're not going to be able to proceed into that area. So if essentially it is walled off, correct me if I'm wrong, whereas the older Zeldas, they are open world, but they're far more linear than we actually realize, and therefore the route between the areas is signposted really clearly. Whereas Breath of the Wild is actually quite an overwhelming experience, more like a Western RPG, like your Fallout 76, or you get my drift. It's a lot more sort of, you can go anywhere, you can do anything. The only thing that's sort of ring fencing the areas in is your level and your hearts and your equipment that you've got that allows you to venture into these areas. So I can completely understand I've watched my son play Breath of the Wild, and I think he's found it as overwhelming as I found the SNES version back in the day. It's how these things work. And, you know, I had to get to be a young adult man, before I could fully have the wherewithal and the forward planning and the commitment to want to see it through to finish Zelda. Like, I think Tom was in his early teens when he first experienced Zelda, and therefore you've got that a little bit more wherewithal and ability and mindset to see it through. So yeah, I completely oh my goodness gracious me, I've just seen the next comment. Professor Pliskin, hot off his 2-time World Championship award, has measured in with a thesis on Zelda. I shall read you the highlights. He says, yes, the return of large-scale speculation followed by almost immediate disappointment for some immediately afterwards. It happened yesterday, right? Joking aside, it was really good to see a near hour-long direct after the mostly water drop-like news that happened last year, and through Pirate in Smash or the reveal of Project Triangle Strategy, I'll bet I'll be just called Triangle Strategy later on, either had me bored, annoyed, or both. Seeing games like Miitopia or Mario Golf Super Rush being announced was pretty great and surprising to see. Why am I not talking about Zelda, you ask? Because I've only played one Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. So you can say I'm out of depth with this topic. I did try out the original title for my Wii when it was part of the museum feature in Smash Bros. Brawl, but I mostly just ran around very confused, mostly to be fair. I've heard so much talk about games like Ocarina being the greatest of all time that it's practically killed my interest in trying some of them out. Not that I had much interest in Ocarina to begin with. Yes, I said, come at me. I did eventually get to try Wild out after I borrowed it from the local library because of how damn expensive Nintendo exclusive are, and it's definitely one of the most unique games I've ever tried. It takes a lot of the confusion I felt with the original Zelda, but is immediately better given the fact that you are given way more physical details in the landscapes and character interactions to lure you into learning more about the secrets of the deserted Hyrule. Even if the narrative's disconnected design makes the journey very uninteresting, the sense of discovery and adventure you get in a title like this is practically second to none. Maybe except for Horizon Zero Dawn, but I feel that's better more so in the monster design, world building, and story, while its freedom isn't nearly as good. And it is something I can respect with the 35-year-old series continually reinventing itself. Even though my college work and new PS5, as George can testify in seeing, creates a general lack of interest in the series itself for me, and I still won't check Ocarina anytime soon. You can't make me squinting with tongue out emoji, winking with tongue out emoji. Thank you, Cplisky. Again, he makes some interesting points there. When a game gets to be so legendary and synonymous with being one of the greatest games of all time, as per the Hyperbole or Hyperbole, depending which version of this podcast you listen to, does that kind of like Ocarina of Time, obviously you never played it back in the day, you've not played it to this point, it's hailed as one of the greatest of all time. Does that make you not want to pick it up? I think he makes a solid point there. When I get presented this greatest of all time, but maybe the game's 10 years old, and I'm like, well, I kind of like lived this long without it. Do I need it now?
Listen, there's only one game if you want to consider the greatest game of all time, right? What are you basing it off of?
Critical reception and gaming communities.
And money.
Comments. Maybe money.
Most money made must mean a lot of people bought it.
True.
Wouldn't it be Minecraft?
I mean, you're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the
Hasn't that
choir
broke
here.
every single record in gaming history?
Yeah, but that means if it's based on that, you might need to put Fortnite on that pantheon. Is that then the greatest game because it's made so much money?
Really free game, man.
Yeah, but it's made a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah, but has it won all those awards that Minecraft won?
No, Minecraft. I will capitulate immediately and say that is probably one of the greatest games ever made.
So for me, someone's like, "Oh, it's the greatest game of all time." Okay, well, what game was it? Oh, okay, I can see that. I'll try it.
I would normally argue for Ocarina of Time being probably one of the greatest games I've ever played. I mean, you know,
but your personal experience, that's cool. Like, it's great. And I take the recommendation. I'll try it.
The thing is, out of all the games that I think are great, that's one of the ones I could recommend because I know it's quite universal to be able to pick up. I know that if I said to someone right now, "Oh, Shenmue is one of the greatest games I ever played," and they came to it now, the controls are outdated, the graphics look wooden compared to like modern sort of adventure games. It's very, very basic and doesn't feel that amazing. Whereas I feel like Ocarina has enough gameplay tropes in there where it would survive a modern playthrough, and someone could go, yeah, that's actually was quite enjoyable. You know, however many tens of hours it took me to complete. Actually, that was an experience I'm glad I had. I think it was better at the time. And obviously things come out in gaming, things come out and games get better every time, don't they? A movie can kind of stand on its own two legs a little bit, whereas a game can sometimes get passed by. So, yeah, interesting. Your Ginger's brother, my adopted son, what's he got to say for it? Who is it and what's he got to say for himself?
Ginger's_games_room. He says, just like the great Boba Loba, I've also not played Zelda. I will take whatever punishment you great kings choose.
What punishment should we dish out to Ginger's Games Room?
Probably to play it. I know he has a Super Nintendo Mini.
Okay. So
play one.
Play the 16-bit Zelda. That is your punishment. No other games can be played until that's done. We need photographic evidence of you starting, middle of your campaign, and the end. If we don't see that, what are we going to ban him from the show?
No, but we can make his Discord. I don't know. Do something Discord. You know, do something funny. I don't know.
Change his username.
Yeah, with like just a bunch of emojis.
Yes, perfect.
Like a redheaded emoji, like maybe like a step stool or like a hammer. You know, something like
that. Actually, I don't know as I've seen this gentleman's name before. So, soon as El Buccio's got his wallet out for Dexter Fletcher, we've got a new listener. MJ Hunter 1989. A Link to the Past, he says. First game I remember playing it, tried to replay it once a year. Took me about 15 years to find out there was a magic cape. A game you can come back to every year, year in, year out. That's the mark of a good game, right, Bobby?
Yeah. I would agree.
How many times have you played A Link to the Past?
I don't play games that often. So 6 times now.
Really?
I love it.
Wonderful. I might on completion of the show.
I put my mind back in the day, because I probably now you play it now, you're like, oh, whatever. But back in the day, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now it might be a little bit too, I don't know. But for me, I could play it again.
For me, graphically, Link to the Past still looks great. And I think on completion of the show, I'm going to add it to my Super Nintendo collection. I'm going to buy it on eBay. Done.
Do it.
Captain Cole 25, a man we haven't heard from for a while, but thanks for getting back in touch and thanks for your continued loyal support.
I got to read this one out.
Oh, okay.
Majora's Mask is for its uniqueness, style, and art, and variety of masks with different abilities, and love the spookiness vibes to it. Grinning, showing all your teeth emoji.
What?
I had to read it out, and you'll see why.
Oh, of course. Now, Bada Bings to Retro Gaming's featured in an enigmatic play video recently. His Italian accent seems to have compelled Harvey Retro to try his own Italian. Have you seen this video yet, Bobby?
No, I'm going to watch it today.
Okay. Well, I don't want to ruin it too much, but there's Harvey Retro has been sent some fan mail by Bada Bings to Retro Gaming, and he's trying to do an Italian voice as well, and even puts a clip in of us. It says wonderful things about our show, which humbled to hear what a man that I would like to refer to now going forward, Harvey Retro, was the Duke.
Yeah.
Agreed. His effortless style and cool just they're palpable. You know, I could reach out and taste him. If you could taste Harvey Retro, what do you think he would taste of?
Red velvet cake.
Red velvet cake, of course you would.
How elegant is that, bro?
Oh,
Come on, bro.
I don't think I'd be able to stop eating him. And that would be the shame because it'd be all gone. Then I have to regurgitate it and sort of rearrange that sick to look like Harvey Retro. It'd be like a weird version of him, like a melted
Well, he's
version.
immortal, so, you know.
Could he survive being eaten, sicked out, and then rebuild himself?
Just give him some blood, bro. That's all you're going to do.
This Zelda special's gone off the rails very quickly. Bada bings to retro gaming. He says, I have a Breath of the Wild on the Switch. I got stuck, sir, and bored, so I just left her sitting there. Don't read out of my comment. Read out someone who actually loves the game, sir. Everybody, I forgot this, sir. I added it in, but I did the wrong flag, sir. But I know you didn't include it, and I know you will not read out a non-Italian flag, sir. So, Italian flag, everybody stand up for the national anthem, sir. Everybody sit down, sir. If my narrator's memory plays correct, sir, there's also a controller emoji, sir. Yes, and a trophy emoji, sir. Yes, because you're a winner, sir, and I am a winner, sir. That is us, sir. Comment complete, sir. Sorry, sir. Okay, so very nice of him to capitulate and say that he didn't want his comment read out, but he's so much a fabric of the show now. If he wasn't in the comments section, do we even have the right to do a show if we don't have a comment from Bada Binks to Retro Gaming?
Yeah. So we got 2 letters. One's in my name, one's in your name. I read mine first. It's from Tommy, from Rikers Island. He says, in the days of high adventure, Ocarina of Time was my favorite game of all time. And then you'll read yours letter after the Dukes.
I see he's done separate entries.
Yeah.
Probably because I actually pulled him up and said, but why is it your favourite game? Because we had lots of people messaging that X, Y, Z's their favourite, but we never got a why. And I'm pretty sure the question was, what's your favourite Zelda game and why?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of
Which
people...
I don't even know I even answered correctly myself. I'm not sure if we did that.
Actually, nor did I. I said a lot of noise, Zelda-themed noise, but I never gave a reason why. Wide-eyed wonderment and nostalgia aside, I think it just had some pretty good gameplay hooks. And at the time, a game of that scale and size, to want to pull you through it, showed very strong storytelling in a world of no voice clips or barely any voice noise. Mm-hmm. So it was all on-screen text. You know, it's cutting edge at the time. Anyway, that's my just clapping preparation. He's not a new listener, far from it. He is an esteemed Duke, and he exists outside of all of time and space as he is an immortal vampire. He said it's Harvey Retro, obviously, of the famous Enigmatic Productions, and if you're not following their content, their production values are high enough where a terrestrial TV station could take their show, stick it on, and you would legitimately think it was a proper, bought, filmed, edited, effects, proper show. You would sit and watch that.
A pubic hair away of taking away IGN's reign.
Agreed.
Yeah.
He says, and it's my great honor to put the words in the mouth of an immortal Duke. He says, I have to be honest, I've never played a single Zelda game. High crime to some people. I think it's purely because I never had any Nintendo systems growing up. Here's a mind image for you, listeners. I must have thought of myself as a bigger boy, Sega kid back in the day with backwards baseball cap, high-top sneakers on, glass of SodaStream pop in one hand, and a Mega Drive controller in the other. That guy oozes so much cool. If I was just to stand next to him for a moment, and I could assume some of that cool, I would be the coolest I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And now he does 2 emojis here. Sunglasses on, coolly smiling emoji, sunglasses removed, laughing with teeth showing emoji. But I'm playing Nintendo these days, so it's definitely a franchise I will dig into at some point. Now, Harvey Retro, just imagine him in the mid 90s, early 90s, late 80s, baseball cap on backwards, High top sneakers. A glass of. Do you know what SodaStream is, my American cousin?
I'm sure it's like some kind of soda you guys have over there.
It's one better. You had a home carbonating system. So you would take a bottle, a prerequisite SodaStream bottle, and you would fill it to a certain level on the side with tap water. You would then place it into the SodaStream, lock down the cap, pull down the protective cover, and use this lever. You pulled it down once, and it made this noise. You would open the lid. You would take out the bottle. You would have carbonated water. You would then go to your SodaStream cordial section, and you would pour yourself a capful of cola, orange, lemon, anything you can imagine. Pour it into the drink. Put the lid on. You didn't want to shake it because it would fizz up, but you turn the bottle upside down, you turn it the right way up again. You have a homemade SodaStream. Did you have those in the United States of America?
I do.
Amazing. Is it now in the UK? It was quite prevalent because I don't know. Sodas was seen as the tears of God Himself, normally quite expensive, and obviously in America, I like to think that you turn on a tap and soda comes out.
No, we could just buy like 2 liter for like $1.50.
My God. Here in the UK, we now have something called sugar tax. So if you want to buy original
We have
Coke,
the same thing.
it's ridiculous. I find that hurts. That hurts people that want it as a treat.
That's discriminating.
Yeah.
A fat tax? You mean tell me I can't drink something? I have to get taxed extra for it? Just like the women, the pink tax. We have that over there in England.
What's this?
Basically, any woman's product gets taxed more or is more expensive than a male product. So let's say razors for your legs. Women, they're pink. They're more money than a regular razor for a man for his face. And when in reality, it's the same razor. Shaving cream, it says Gillette, but it's blue, manly. But now the women's is pink and it's more money. And it's just shaving
I
cream.
don't know the pink tax is necessarily a thing, but it's never something that's been brought up in polite conversation. So any female listeners, please reach in and let us know.
It's ridiculous.
Whether there's a pink tax in the UK. Me being a resident now of New York, but a non-buyer of feminine products.
Yeah, you would never know.
I wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy UK 73, resident of Rikers Island, prisoner number 9974-42069. He says, but now Breath of the Wild, this is part 2
of your letter.
A man so great he's actually made an original and a sequel to his comment. He says, but now Breath of the Wild stands as my favourite in the series. When I played that in 2017, it was what I imagined Ocarina of Time in my head was back in 1998. Breath of the Wild is the greatest action-adventure game in gaming history. My God. My God. Strong words.
He stamped it. Up next, we got Super Retro Gaming World, which I never heard of.
No, me neither. Should we give him a new listener? Feels only right and proper, doesn't it?
Let's do it. He's a new listener.
What's he say?
Definitely a link to the past with the heart emoji.
I've hogged the mic, so I feel like you should do this next gentleman as well.
Up next, we got Batmo.
Mm-hmm.
I only played A Link Between Worlds for 3DS, so by default, it's my favorite. However, I did really enjoy it. 'Twas a fun little game.
'Twas.
'Twas.
What a great turn of phrase.
That's a very... you know what? I want to use that more often in my vocabulary.
Yeah, 'twas.
Like, I know my friend says thrice, and he's the only one I ever heard say that.
Wow.
I think it's unique.
Very much.
Next, we have our artist, local artist, Adam the Artist, Comic Picture 79. You can find him on Etsy. It's Comic Pictures. Okay? He says, I think A Link to the Past might be my favorite. My big brother and I got it at launch and smashed it. We got through so much juice and Crips fueling our push to complete it on Life of Each Agreement mode. Absolutely epic game on a sprawling map full of swashbuckling adventure and compelling story. Those tunes as well. I also like Ocarina, but mainly for the horse fishing and the really well done stealth action. I wanted to like Wind Waker, but ended up not liking it, and I haven't really played any other Zelda game that I thought was worthy of a place on the table next to A Link to the Past. I have played and completed a few others, including Breath of the Wild, and I have to say it's properly overrated after the first half hour. Quite enjoyed the getting the sword and the shield, surfing, etc. But overall, I thought it was kind of flat. And in some ways, I can agree with that because pretty much you're just on your own and you just go for it. But what are you really going for besides the four large enemies, creatures?
Mm.
I can agree with that.
I think that refers back to my point I made earlier. I think that some of the other Zelda games had higher sustained moments of enjoyment because there was more of a narrative thread pulling you through. When you get thrown into a world and get told you can literally do what you want wherever you want, you've even got to cook your own food, you've got all the freedom in this, you've got the freedom to wear these clothes, you can climb anything as long as your stamina's high enough, or a combination of clothes to give you the stamina to climb this area. It kind of is so overwhelming, and you don't get enough like hooks when you get to a place to draw you into the exploration of said place. So I completely get it. But I also see why some players find that completely rewarding. It's like a completely new, like Tom, it's a new, fresh experience. The idea of the wonderment of it and the freedom was enough to pull them through. But if you're a traditionalist Zelda man, then you need a bit more.
Well, I'll read this one out too. Up Net Row Space Monk. He says, it has to be The Legend of Zelda, The Faces of Evil on this Philips CDI. Although not made by Nintendo themselves, they took everything about the original games and dialed it up to 11. Full motion cutscenes, voice acting, smooth controls, and they even let Link do a duck walk. Cool, huh? All right. Next. I mean, yeah, some people like the game, some people don't. He's obviously a huge fan.
He's obviously a fan of the CDI.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right.
Okay. Up next, Brett himself. Four Swords Adventure on GameCube, mainly because I bought it for 20 and sold it for 130. Ever the capitalist, Brett himself.
Nice.
So he bought Four Swords on the GameCube for £20. He then retails it out for 130. Did he play the game? Did he enjoy the game? We don't know. We only asked what's your favorite Zelda and why. Here's a man who read the question, formulated an answer, and gave it a reason why, in a way that neither you nor I have done. Did Roast Space Monk do that? He did. He told us he liked the game, and then he told us why. Wonderful. Bam. Does Gazzle's Games now pass the litmus test for a high standard of comment? Tell me.
Says, I've loved most of them. A Link to the Past will always have my 16-bit heart. I'm a big Ocarina and Twilight fan, but Skyward Sword was amazing. Played so well that I was a motion control fan too. What a thumbs up emoji.
So he's told us which game he liked, and he's told us that he liked it because it played so well, and he was a fan of the motion controls. So Gazzle's Games read the question.
Beautiful.
Gazzle's Games was a YouTube sensation. Then he took a break, and now he's back on YouTube. So he's always supported this show. In fact, if you go all the way back, he's one of the very earliest commenters on the show. So thank you for that, Gazzle's Games, and thank you for continuing to contribute. I appreciate you appreciating me, appreciating you appreciating each other. And for that, I'll always appreciate you. Retro G, I think he was on last week, so he doesn't get a clap, sadly. But you never know. He might win comment of the week at one point in time. Or if he joins the Discord, he might win Discord champion and get an Unofficial Controller podcast mug. He says Ocarina of Time, or Oot, as he would describe it there, because he's using.
I would have never known that, to be honest. Well,
I had to do some mental gymnastics in my head. Oot, or Ocarina of Time, holds a special place in my heart. It was my first dive into such a deep game, and the Revolution graphics are still mind-boggling. How the hell did they fit so much on a cartridge when you have games like Superman 64 and Love Shack to compare it to? So he told us his favourite Zelda game, Ocarina of Time. And he liked it because it was a deep game with revolutionary graphics. But then he poses a question. How did they get so much on that cartridge when you have games like Superman 64 that barely put on anything that's good?
Yep.
I suppose that could be said about any storage medium. Who's next?
Welsh Game Hunter. Never played a Zelda game until Breath of the Wild. Played it on the Wii U, and oh my god, what a game. By far my favorite game on the Wii U. Probably my favorite Nintendo first-party game.
Okay. That's cool.
It's
yeah.
cool.
But did he answer the question?
No.
He's told us his favorite Zelda game, Breath of the Wild.
Not why.
Interesting.
We got up next, Young Adult Man.
Yes. You may know him as Wan.GD30CE12. He chimes in with this. Let's see if Young Adult Man, a relative professor in my mind.
Yeah.
Let's see if he answers. Ocarina of Time has to be my go-to for the Zelda series. This has been established. Ocarina of Time is his favorite game. That's or Oot. Yes, for it now be referred to as Oot. That's the first game my brother and I played through completely, and the first game that got us really into gaming. We couldn't get over how cool the story was and how much lore it had. To this day, I still boot up the regular old Legend of Zelda on my N64. The intro to that game is so badass. Yes, it has a fantastic...
He's answered the question completely.
He has. Well done, Young Adult
100%.
Who's next?
The man who makes our show not PG.
No.
The 16-bit prick.
I love the fact that you've adopted some of these strange things that I would say, and how you incorporate them into your own pattern and technique. Wonderful.
Thank you. He said Zelda is
Bobby.
Yes.
If you weren't married, I would fall head over heels in love with you. I compel anyone not to have those same emotions. I share a flat with you. I sometimes see you exit the shower, steam, towel wrapped around your lower torso. And I've never tried so hard for telekinetic powers in my life because every time, I'm stood there, you think I'm staring at you in a weird way. I'm actually trying to get the towel to drop down. So it's not as weird as it looks, but one would imagine with that confession, it's probably weirder than you thought it was.
I'll just walk out next time.
Excellent.
No big deal. It's a 16-bit prick. He says, Zelda is a series that is not only close to myself, but with many members in my family. I remember watching my mom play Ocarina of Oot on the N64 as a kid and Picnic at Points. She wasn't sure about and ended up phoning my uncle for help. He's the Zelda guru in our family. For a series as big as Zelda with so many games to choose from, I have to go with Oot myself. It was the first Zelda game I finished myself with a little help from my uncle. After Oot, I go back and play Link to the Past, Adventures of Link, etc., and fell in love with the series. The later games are excellent too. It's amazing that there's not many bad Zelda games for how long the series has been going. I chose Oot for its gameplay that many don't appreciate these days due to the clunkiness of the N64 control pad, but still to this day I don't have a problem with it. The enemies are fantastic. Ganondorf scared the absolute crap out of me as a kid. The music is top tier for me when it comes to video game soundtracks. As a whole, it's just the perfect game for me. Not only did he answer the question, he answered it so eloquently that this is a highlight of the comment for me.
That's why he has won Comment of the Month before, because he has an eloquence of words. Again, the 16-bit prick, someone who's got his own YouTube channel, and his reviews are absolutely compelling. He looks at the games through the lens of the time. He adds some humorous bits over the top of it. So he doesn't say, oh, this is a rubbish game now, look at the graphics, blah, blah, blah. He goes back and looks at it through the lens of, like, this was then. And his reviews, I thought I'd seen them all. Then I stumbled across a couple that I hadn't seen the other day and I had to go back to him and reach out and say, really enjoyed these. They were good. And if you haven't watched some of his videos on YouTube, you're dead to me. Mr. Mystery. Let's ask him the question. What's your favorite Zelda and why? He says, Ocarina of Time all the way. Hands up, exalted emoji. Very closely followed by Twilight Princess, then Majora's Mask, which was nails. So many great memories whenever I hear the tunes in Ocarina, especially Epona's song and the Water Temple hands shocked on the side of face, blue top of head, scream emoji, goddamn nightmare. Had to finish it with help from a guidebook from the cover of Nintendo magazine. Lol. In my humble opinion, anything outside of these three are just didn't have the vibes and atmosphere. And I'd say my least favourite is Breath of the Wild. Think I might be tempted, though, to have a bash at Skyward if the missus will let me use her Switch. Sort of disgruntled, looking to one side, sort of kind of what you expect when you're in a long-term relationship face emoji. All the best, chippy chaps, winking with a smile emoji. Chippy chaps. Now here, that's what we call a chip shop, a place where you'd get some fried potato. You might call them fries, and fried battered fish. Do you think he thinks that we own a chip shop?
I'm not really sure.
Can you get fish and chips in America? So you go
there, get them in Trestle, and also you can get them in Sugar Freak, Louisiana style.
Interesting. Okay. Did he answer the question? He told us his favorite Zelda, but did he tell us why?
Yeah, the music. He loved the music.
Okay. Here's someone, El Buccio. Get your wallet out because we've got another new listener.
Now his name is Jake Stammer 2004. He might be a stutterer. We're not sure. Link's Awakening, Switch version. I know it's a remake, yet it's my first experience with a Zelda game, and its aesthetic is so cute, and the characters are so charming as well. Great on the Switch Lite.
He answered the question.
So, he did. I like it.
Okay. Up next, a man, Retro Gaming Rock. He's a new listener. He says, link to the past here, waving with a hand emoji. He's told us his favourite game.
Didn't tell us why.
Maybe he just said here, hands up. And he's maybe say talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. Is that what he's telling us here?
Could be. Or stop right there. That's the only one.
I'm not. Look out. We've got a new listener.
It's Joe Woodward, 5871. So he might be an older gentleman. He says, honestly, A Link Between Worlds is my favorite. It's the only one I played the most. I love the new characters they brought along. And Low Rule was so cool. Sure, it's very similar to A Link to the Past, but I never played that game.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you to all the new listeners for reaching out.
Look at this. Another one. Can you believe we've got a new listener? It's
the Zach Man, a.k.a. Digital Monk or his brother. The guys that are practically invisible to us. He says, although Breath of the Wild is an easy pick for me, one of my favourite entries in the franchise, I must admit a personal nostalgia for Oracle of Seasons on the Game Boy Color. Funnily enough, I barely remember a thing about the actual gameplay or story other than the childhood memory of trying to solve environment-based puzzles by frantically cycling the seasons in the hope it would do something. Did you play that game?
Nope.
I had that. There was Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of, I think it was Ages. I can't quite remember now. You had them both. One was a blue cart, one was an orange cart, and I think you kind of you could interchange them both or something. I had them, or I had at least one of them on the Game Boy Color, but I don't have many memories of it, which is strange for me because normally somewhere embedded in there. He answered the question in both sense of the term. Yeah, I might need to dig that. I don't know if I've still got it. If I haven't, I might find it. If I have, then if I don't, then I'm gonna rebuy it.
Dig it up, bro. Look, another new listener.
Do you think we should record a soundbite and have that on a? No, we'll just keep doing it. The low browness of this show is half of its appeal.
I feel if you do like an automated highlight, it's not going to be the same, dude.
No. Okay. I just thought I'd ask, El Buccio wanted to know if he could spend any more money on the show. You know what he's like. If he doesn't pour money into the show, he can't remunerate that money out. Yeah. So he puts his dirty money in.
Yeah.
and then he can extract clean money out. So he's not. The more he pours in, the more he can get out. Because normally he has to lose in the money laundering transaction. He normally lose about 50% of the value.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he bought 6 Ferraris for you the other day. You never saw one of them, but then he sold them super cheap on the black market for half price. Because when he bought them, that was dead money.
Yeah.
When he remunerated out, that was big money.
Yeah.
So, you need to make sure that when you do your taxes this year, you just write down the fact that you bought and sold 6 Ferraris.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I have a guy.
I would advise El Buccio's guy because there's far more than those Ferraris that you've bought this year.
For sure.
Yeah.
Up next, we got a new listener. He says, "Oot is just a definitive Zelda game experience for me."
What's his name?
I thought I said that. I'm sorry. Not Heat Wave.
Uh-huh.
So maybe he's in Texas. Ocarina of Time is just a definitive Zelda experience for me, and always will be. I prefer Breath of the Wild as a game, but prefer Ocarina as a Zelda game.
He answered the question. Up next, we've got another new listener. Lewis James 1707. Can someone born in 07 message into this show? Yes, they could do.
Yeah,
it's a PG show, but that makes them what? 13?
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable. With a show that's edgy.
Or
safe.
It could be like the birth of his kid.
Or he's another vampire and he was born in 1707.
Ooh, I like it. I like where you're going there.
Ocarina of Time, because of this amazing story, soundtrack and gameplay, especially for such an old game, peak contender for its time. So there's a man, I assume a young man, that has eloquence enough with a keyboard to be able to write one sentence and answer both questions in one sentence.
That takes a skill. So he has to be an older gentleman.
I think he's a young gentleman that's mature for his years, showing prowess and general security, really, that a lot of our older listeners would probably, I tell you what, El Buccio is spending money like water right now, and luckily he gets it back out, because from here until the end, it's a new listener fest.
Yeah.
Who's next? New
listener. Willis.net. Skyward Sword is my first real Zelda game that I played all the way through and got me hooked on the series. I played every Zelda game because of it. Smiley face, not emoji.
He's gone cheap. He's used semicolon.
Yep.
Open bracket, close bracket. New listener. Lucas.gilbert.ig says, my fav is Breath of the Wild. Okay.
Up next, we got
thanks for commenting. New listener.
Monster Games. Oot. It was an experience. It was an epic quest. Seeing Hyrule Field for the first time blew my mind.
Boom. Answered again. Easy.
Simple. Done.
And we've got another
new listener.
_lockdown doodles. Okay. They like to draw during the COVID lockdown. Such a tough one. ! No sign of a question mark. Strange. If pushed, Breath of the Wild, but Ocarina was so good, and I love Spirit Tracks. Again, Spirit Tracks is a game that I have never played.
Never even heard of it.
It's on the DS from memory. You control a train. Yes, that's right. A train. I think this person probably qualifies for an NL.
He's a new listener.
Who is it?
We got Rare Nintendo, Orc Oot for nostalgia, and Breath of the Wild green heart emoji.
Okay.
All right.
Another new listener. Ben_Cans101 says, just started playing Majora on the GameCube and it's my favorite so far. No reason why. He just likes it. Okay.
Well played. We got a new listener. Teddy Bobs.
That could stay in. He's staying in.
I'm sorry. When I see it, I see it. He writes, Wind Waker. It's one of the first video games I remember completing, and it means a lot to me.
He understood and read the question.
Mm-hmm.
Up next,
We got a new listener.
Zeph5 decimal A says Breath of the Wild or Botwalk BC, which I presume is because it's the only one I've played. His eloquence and deft of hand movement across the keyboard, second to none.
Up next, we got a new listener. Jcox circle _ circle. His eye hit that emoji looks like he's wide-eyed but also silent. He writes, Link Between Worlds, as it's the first limited edition console I got for Christmas, and it was my first Zelda game.
That's, in my eyes, that's an answer because it was his first, and it was his first.
Mm-hmm.
We've got another new listener. 5QU19LY. One would imagine that's his way of claiming ownership over the word Squidly.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Hyrule Warriors for the 3DS. It was the first one I ever played, and like it was a really fun experience. I think it was a great way to introduce myself to the series and, gentlemen, the characters.
We are back at it. Oh, no, that's just a typo. We have a new listener. William Middleditch.
Sounds like a medieval peasant, doesn't he, William Middleditch?
When I read that name, I automatically assumed he was like Northern London.
I see him as being a time traveller, a Saxon man. One moment preparing his wattle and daub house, the next minute sat in a 21st century house on Instagram, commenting about his favourite Zelda game. Still wondering whether his time as a Saxon man was a fever dream or if it was real. William Middleditch.
Mm-hmm.
What's he say for himself?
Oot. It has the most amazing sound design with a, what is that? It's a colon with a capital P.
One would imagine that's the cheap
your tongue
way
emoji.
of sticking out his tongue emoji.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we have a new listener. Lord Hazard 99. Breath of the Wild, my first Zelda game. It was so good. I love the freedom.
Who doesn't?
And this man's actually he's somehow picked up on the fact that we said oot earlier, and now he's made his whole comment oot. He's got a new listener.
Now this is interesting. I don't want to say someone's real name on air, but we have a listener, a fellow friend of ours whose real name happens to be Connor. Now this could be a joke. Connor Drizzle.
It's Dizzle.
Dizzle. I read that as Drizzle. I forgot.
Or is his name Con Nord, as in the European for North?
Nord Izzle.
Con Nord Izzle.
I like that better.
We don't know, do we? It'd be wrong to assume.
Look what he says. Oot. Because it's oot.
I don't know what to conclude from this. I know there's certainly some games I want to re-add into my collection, and there's certainly maybe some of the more modern games I need to persevere with. But I think the takeaway is that
we should play Oot.
I've played it, but there's a strong tie, I feel, between Oot, which was the series high watermark to that point, and Breath of the Wild, which is divisive, but also the secondary high watermark. Interesting. Now, I don't know if you know what he's been up to this week, but some say he's been exploring caves around northern Japan because he's hoping to find some mementos from Shigeru Miyamoto's childhood, which he can hawk off at greatly inflated prices on eBay to some rather excited Zelda collectors. We only know him as Stingray, and let's face it, he's an enigma. He's everywhere at all times. But I tell you where he is right now, Bobby. He tears down Fifth for Main. It's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingrays boot. What's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battlefriend all this week. These are the new release highlights for this week, February 15th, February 21st, 2021. Listeners, these are out in digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your feed, but they could be. Bobby, they could be region dependent. Now, what you see is what you get. It's 4 titles new release this week. It's not many. And as always, we pick out a VHS. Now, through the medium of this, for the new listeners, we always pick out a Mummy. So there's a game that we ask Mummy for, okay? Because Stingray comes to the house every week, okay? And Mummy gives us disposable income to buy something out of the... Does Mumsy live with us now, or is Mumsy dead? I forget the law.
I mean, she's always with us.
In our hearts. Yes. Maybe we should do postcards from Farmerton. Maybe if you want that, you let us know in the Discord.
That'd be nice. Also, just a random question.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
That'd be nice. Could we save our money for next week?
No, you're gonna have one. And I'm going with the second one.
Okay.
You don't have to. You can go with what you want.
Okay. I see it. I'm in it.
Okay.
Third one lost me, so.
Well, I'll read out this first one. 30 double X for the PC, February 17th. This one wins the award for the roguelike. But for all you happy people out there, there's 2 roguelikes this week. 30XX on the PC, February 17th. Jump, shoot, and slash your way through 30 double X, the roguelike action platformer you can play with a friend. Explore lush, ever-changing worlds that mix precise platforming with fevered combat. Destroy fearsome guardians, master unique powers, rediscover the 1,000 years we've lost. I see now. That title now makes sense. Clever. What's next out the boot? This is our Mummy, Bobby.
Yeah,
what we got?
This is it. It's King of Seas for PC, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, February 18th. King of Seas is an action role-playing game set in a pirate world. An epic adventure awaits you in a fantastic world dotted with fights, lost islands, and treasures. A universe that will keep you anchored as you struggle to become king of all pirates.
Procedural. The protagonist, EX-1, out on PC, February 18th. The protagonist, EX-1, is a gripping new turn-based tactical RPG. You're a highly trained soldier on a mission to infiltrate an enemy... No, they're not enemies. Let's not assume for a moment, because they're aliens, they're enemies. You're on a mission to infiltrate an alien space station that goes horribly wrong. Find your team. Discover the hidden truth. That's the problem with humankind. Alien, automatically assume enemy, automatically assume kill. Why don't we see aliens? Would you make yourself known to a monkey with a gun? No, you wouldn't. What's next, Bobby?
Ultimate Adam, Caves of Chaos. Who knows? I read that right. PC, February 18th. Experience the sequel. Oh, so it's a sequel of traditional roguelike dungeon crawling classic. Endless procedural generated dungeons, countless monsters, crafting, and a vast amount of skill trees and items allow for unlimited replayability. Journey into the ever-changing depths of the caverns of chaos.
I felt like I was in an Eminem video. I don't know if anyone else is going to feel that vibe, but when you went countless monsters, crafting, I was like, boom! I was waiting for you to carry on with the flow, like crafting.
I did, but then it stopped. I was like, all right, generated dungeons, countless monsters, crafting, and a vast amount of skill trees. It kind of ruined it. But you could definitely wrap that whole sentence.
I can't remember what this thing was on Instagram. It was, but there's a guy who pretends to be Eminem, and it's like Eminem's playing computer games, and he's like doing a rap, and everyone on the headset's like, "No, stop it now, mate." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, I can't help myself. And then he raps off the back of that, and they're like, "Pack it in." And he's like, "There's one where he's like, he wakes up, and he's like, 'Is that my alarm clock going off?' And he does this rap, and his girlfriend's like, 'Go back to bed.' And he's like, 'Is that bacon I can smell cooking?' And he like makes a rap out, and then he hates himself for rapping, so he goes back to sleep. If I can remember the name, I'll post it up on the Discord. But it was. I went through all of his videos, and they were absolutely hilarious, fantastic. And I've sold myself a bit short by not remembering out of the billions of Instagram accounts which one this was, but it was good. Before we let Stingray slip away, we get the honor and privilege to pull out a VHS tape to watch this week. I'm going with the slightly below average film, Alien versus Predator.
Wow.
Okay. Just so you know.
I'm going to go with David Carradine's The Warrior and the Sorceress.
Perfection personified, Bobby. Absolutely.
Look at the cover art alone. It's a poster.
I shall do that off air because you obviously just get the Stingray rental box. You don't get to keep the real album. And with that, he's gone. As with all third-rate shows, we have an effect for the man arriving, but we have no sound for him leaving. Now, you can assume that's either because we're cheap, but El Bucio's budget has no bounds, or Stingray just disappears like a trump at a wedding, released at the wrong time. Those that paid attention at the top of the show, those that listen every week, they know I can't let you go. Otter's grip tight on that Master Sword, my friend, but not so tight because that foam may end up getting crushed. And as far as I'm concerned, that's a Nintendo collectible. Could be worth its weight in gold in less than 10 years' time. Deflect the blocks with your Hyrulean shield as I ask Bobby, what are you hoping to play?
Definitely Slapper 3. Keep that going. And more Mario 3D World with Eva. And then I'm going to try to finish some Cyberpunk. That's it for me. What about you?
I don't know. I'm currently pretending to be a snake. I have no idea why. One would imagine that's the first level of descent into madness. I'm going to play a bit more G1 Jockey. I'm probably ought to play a PlayStation 5 game. I've still got some PlayStation 5 games still in their cellophane, but I'm kind of saving for a family vibe, a Sackboys adventure. I'm kind of saving for I don't know why I'm still saving it, but I'm still saving for the Pop Demon Souls. So I may end up scratching some bizarre itch to play the Darkness through on PlayStation 3. Yeah, I don't know why.
The Darkness, isn't that like a spin-off from Witchblade?
I think the Darkness is based on a comic from memory, but you get like on either arm, you get like these spirits that you can send out, and you have guns as well. I remember when I first played it, it's been a long time since I last played it, but I'm sure there's a level where you kind of end up in like a hellscape of World War One in the trenches. I also remember it because if you want to, and I don't know if the PlayStation 3 had a trophy for this, because I don't know if it had trophy support when The Darkness came out, but on the 360, I think you sit down with your girlfriend. It's on all versions of the game, but the 360 had a trophy. In it, you've got, I think it's the full version of the black and white To Kill a Mockingbird, which you can sit and watch on your sofa with your girlfriend in its entirety, the 2-hour film.
That's incredible.
Which I may do because that's the sort of weird cat I am. In between playing G1 Jockey on the PlayStation 2, I might watch an aged film in an aged game on an aged system. If you've got no more further stories to regale to me, Bobby, we ought to let these fine people go and carry on with their day. We must... that's all we have time for this week, listeners. Always thank you for your time. We look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming. And remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Bobby.
Peace out.
Hi, it's George here from the Unofficial Controller podcast. Just taking a moment to, first of all, thank you for listening. It means a hell of a lot to us. Secondly, every week we bring you free content, the latest news, the new releases, a feature of note, normally something to do with games or gaming past, be it one of our history of documentaries or an insight into the industry itself, or how games have affected us as people. Well, yes, we incorporate you, listeners, into that. All we ask is that you drop a little comment on our post on social media and you can get featured on the show. Hey, do you know what? You may even win a prize. The only charge for this is £0, 0 pence, $0. That's right, no money. But all we ask is that you like, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you found this show. And if you're feeling a little bit cheeky, tell a friend, get them to do the same. We have a Discord that's free for you guys to all join in and get involved in. And the community on Instagram and Twitter is alive and thriving. So don't be a lonely gamer. Make yourself known. Thank you. And now it's time to begin this week's entertainment. Take care, guys.